Hi, boys and girls. Next, we're going to learn about bees. Bees have so many different jobs, and we're going to talk about some of them. I have right here all the different kinds of bees, and I'm going to show you each one. All right, let's start with the egg. This is the egg, right? Yeah. All right, next comes the larva. Look at that little guy. After the larva comes the pupa. He's in his little shell, growing. Then we have an adult. Bzzz. Now let's talk about some of their jobs. There are lots of bees that we call worker bees, but worker bees have different jobs. This worker bee, he likes to feed and care for the growing larvae. He takes care of them. This worker bee, you see him? He attends to the queen. He feeds the queen bee and he grooms her. There's so many working bees with different jobs. This working bee, he's an undertaker. He removes dead bees and larvae that didn't grow all the way. So he cleans for all the other bees. This worker bee, this is a nectar and he turns it into raw honey, okay? And then he deposits it and he fans the nectar. All right, this worker bee, guess what his job is? His job is to clean the other bees. This worker bee, he collects tree resin. That way he can make propolis. Look at that. This worker bee uses beeswax to build honeycomb. Honeycomb is a really cool pattern. This worker bee, he uses beeswax to cape pupa cells and cells full of ripened honey. Wow, he has an important job. This worker bee collects the pollen and he packs it into all the cells. There's so many different jobs for the worker bees, huh? This worker bee, he has a very important job. He guards the hive. That sounds like a very important worker bee job. This worker bee collects the nectar. Bzzz. And the last worker bee, he repairs the hive when it gets broken or damaged. Cool. Now, we also have what's called a drone. Drone bees are made to mate with the queen bee. Yeah, so his job is to mate with the queen bee. She's the reproductive center of the hive. That means she makes more bees, like little baby bees, and she lays all the eggs thanks to the drone bee. Look at all the jobs bees have. They are all such important jobs to keep the bee community growing. All right, I have for you guys today a book all about bees so you can learn what it means to be a bee. I Am a Bee, written by Rebecca and James McDonald. I am a bee. I'm a bee, and there are many types of bees. I am a honeybee. I collect sweet nectar from flowers so I can make delicious honey. I also help plants make seeds through pollination. Can you guys say pollination? Pollination. I'm part of the colony with a whole bunch of other honeybees. We're like one big family that works really hard together. My colony lives in a hive that is made of wax and special bee glue called propolis. And our hive is our house. Sometimes we like to build hives in trees, fallen logs, caves, or even between rocks. Choosing a safe place to build the hive is really important. There are lots of animals around that would love to eat bees or gobble up all their honey. Bears love honey. In a colony, every bee has a job to do. First, there is the queen bee, and her job is to make eggs. Next are the drone bees, and their job is to help the queen make eggs. Last, but not least, are the worker bees, and that's what I am. And we have a whole bunch of jobs to do. As a young bee, my first jobs were to keep the hive clean and feed and take care of the colony. Luckily, worker bees are really good at working together and helping each other. As I grew, so did my jobs. Once my body was able to make wax, I became a builder. And I made sure there were enough rooms for all the baby bees and extra space to store lots of pollen and nectar that would be made into honey. By flapping our wings or vibrating our bodies, worker bees keep the hive at a perfect temperature. Not too hot and not too cold. So wax can be shaped, glue can be spread, and honey can be made. Worker bees guard and protect the hive and the colony inside. As a guard, I had to be on the lookout for other insects and animals that might want to steal our honey or even damage the hive. Now that I'm an older bee, I have a new job. I'm a forager. Bees usually never leave the hive unless there's an emergency or if they're foraging to find food and water. Being a forager is a really important job. I fly away looking for patches of blooming flowers that have lots of delicious pollen and sweet nectar. Nectar is a sugary juice, and pollen is a yellow dust, and they're both my favorite foods. I crawl inside a flower and I load up as much as I can carry. I have a special pouch in my stomach for carrying nectar. And I have pollen baskets on both of my back legs for when I'm carrying extra pollen. Pollen is really sticky, and I always end up covered in it. And that makes plants happy because when I fly next to flowers, I drop pollen, which helps plants make seeds. Scientists call this pollination. Lots of seeds mean more vegetables, fruits, and pretty flowers for everyone. We need the bees to help us, guys. If I came across a big patch of flowers, I'd fly back to the hive and tell the other foragers how to find it by doing the honeybee waggle dance. Round and round I go, wiggling and waggling. Storing lots of honey for winter is really important. When it's cold, honeybees stay inside the hive, eating the stored honey and flying close together in a big tight circle so that we stay warm. We make enough honey to last the winter and to share with people, just like you. Scientists say bees, like me, are really helpful to people because we move pollen from plant to plant. We're part of the reason there are so many delicious fruits, vegetables, and nuts to choose from at the grocery store. Foragers fly all over the place. Sometimes that can cause us big problems, but when we fly into places where people have sprayed chemicals to get rid of other bugs, it makes us get sick too. Chemicals can also drift into our hive, making it an unhealthy place to live. People can help bees by not using chemicals that make bees sick. You can help by sharing what you've learned about honeybees with family, friends, or your classmates. And wow, bees are so cool and they have so many jobs. I also have another worksheet for you guys, and it's cut and pasting insects because ladybugs and bumblebees are considered insects. So here, we've already talked about the butterfly, and now we have our ladybug and our bumblebee, and we put an ant in there for an extra one. So your worksheet's going to look like this. What do we say in class? Color, cut, paste. So you're going to color like mine. And then you're going to cut each square out and glue it to its match. I had a lot of fun doing mine. These are very cool. Thanks for listening to my lesson, you guys.